Manticore. Okay, imagine the worst thing nature could design if nature had a grudge. Face of a man, body of a lion, tail of a scorpion, 3 rows of teeth. Not 1, not 2, 3 rows. Like a shark that decided land was more fun. The Persians came up with this one, called it Martioxwar, man-eater. And honestly, the name undersells it. Greek historians, particularly Ctesias, swore it was real, living in the forests of India, eating people whole, bones, armor, everything, no leftovers. And here's the detail that gets me. Its voice supposedly sounded like a trumpet mixed with a human scream. Picture hearing that at 3 a.m. in an ancient forest. The Manticore wasn't just a monster, it was the ancient world's way of saying, nature doesn't owe you a fair fight. Siren. Speaking of unfair fights, at least the Manticore you could see coming, Sirens, you'd walk right into it. In Greek mythology, Sirens sat on rocky islands and sang. That's it, just sang. And sailors steered their ships straight into the rocks. Willingly, happily, drowning with a smile on their face. Most people picture mermaids, but the original Sirens? Half woman, half bird. Not fish, bird. Feathers, talons, the whole thing. Homer wrote about them. Odysseus had his crew tie him to the mast just so he could listen without dying. The man literally said, "I'd rather be in pain than miss this." And that's kind of terrifying. Not the monster part. The part where the most dangerous thing in mythology wasn't teeth or claws. It was something beautiful you couldn't resist. Rock. Now, let's talk about size. Because mythology has a lot of big creatures. Dragons, leviathans, sea serpents, all massive. But the rock? The rock makes dragons look like pigeons. Persian and Arabian legends describe a bird so enormous it could carry elephants in its talons. Not babies, full-grown elephants. For breakfast. Sinbad the Sailor claimed he saw one. Its egg alone was the size of a house. Its wingspan blocked out the sun. Not metaphorically, literally. Daytime turned into night when this thing flew overhead. Some historians think sailors were actually seeing ostriches, or maybe eagles from really, really far away. The human brain saw a big bird and thought, yeah, that probably eats elephants. We don't exaggerate because we're liars. We exaggerate because reality is never big enough for what we feel. Werewolf. All right, enough sky. Let's come back down, way down, into something darker. The werewolf. Every other creature on this list is something out there, a monster in the sea, a beast in the mountains, something you can run from. The werewolf is the monster that's already inside you. The oldest story comes from ancient Greece. King Lycaon served human flesh to Zeus. Test the god, see if he notices. Zeus noticed. Turned him into a wolf, permanently. But here's what spread the myth across every culture. The idea that someone you love, your neighbor, your brother, your father, could become something unrecognizable. Not by choice, not by curse, just by nature. The werewolf isn't about wolves. It's about the terrifying suspicion that we don't really know the people we sleep next to. Vampire. And if the werewolf is the fear of losing someone to something inside them, the vampire is the fear that they chose it. Now, forget Dracula for a second. Forget the cape, forget the accent, forget everything Hollywood told you. The original vampire myths? Eastern Europe. Corpses that wouldn't decompose. Bloated bodies found in graves with blood around their mouths. People didn't understand decomposition, so they assumed the dead were feeding. Villages dug up graves and drove stakes through corpses. Not fiction, documented history. But what made vampires stick wasn't the horror. It was the seduction. Somewhere along the way, we turned the corpse into a gentleman, gave it a castle, a romance, eternal youth. We took our deepest fear, death, and made it attractive? That says way more about us than about vampires. Satyr. Okay, we need a break from existential dread. Enter the Satyr, half man, half goat, fully committed to partying. These guys were Dionysus's entourage, the god of wine's permanent +1s. Dancing, drinking, chasing nymphs through forests, zero responsibilities. Greek artists loved painting them. Usually drunk, usually naked, always causing problems. The original festival crashers. But, and this is the part people miss, satyrs weren't just comic relief. They were the Greeks' way of exploring a real question. What happens when you strip away civilization? Rules, manners, shame, all gone. What's left? And the answer scared them a little, because what's left is honest, messy, uncontrollable, but honest. We invented 1,000 monsters from fear. The satyr might be the only one we invented from guilt. The guilt of wanting to be free. Centaur. Speaking of being half one thing, half another, the Centaur. Top half man, bottom half horse. Full package, the oldest identity crisis in mythology. Most centaurs in Greek myth were violent, drunk, wild. Showing up at weddings and starting fights. Literally. The battle of Lapiths and Centaurs was basically mythology's worst reception. But then there was Chiron. Same body, completely different creature. Teacher of Achilles, master of medicine, the wisest being in Greek legend. And he wasn't even fully human. And that's the whole point, isn't it? Same nature, same blood, same body torn between instinct and intellect. One centaur becomes chaos, another becomes wisdom. The Greeks weren't telling a story about horses. They were telling our story. The war between what we are and what we could be. Every day. That war. Gargoyle. Alright, last one. And I ended with this one on purpose, because it's the only creature on this list you can actually visit. Gargoyles. Right now, today, they're sitting on cathedrals across Europe, hundreds of years old, staring down at you. Stone faces, frozen mid-scream. Originally, they were drain spouts. Literally just fancy gutters to redirect rainwater. The word gargoyle comes from the French gargouille, throat. Same root as gargle. But the church gave them a second job. Scare demons away. Stone monsters protecting sacred ground. Think about that. We carved monsters to protect us from monsters. And they're still there, weathered, cracked, silent, watching cities that have changed beyond recognition while they haven't moved an inch. Every creature on this list came from imagination. The gargoyle is the only one we made real. Carved it in stone, bolted it to our holiest buildings, and said, "Stay." Maybe that's what mythology really is. Not stories we tell, promises we carve, that something is always watching over us, even if we had to invent it ourselves. If you made it this far, hit subscribe, drop a like, ring the bell, and tell me which mythical creature you think is the most powerful.